Welcome back to the lab. I'm Jen, and I'm so glad that you're joining me here. So, I'm dropping this week's episode a bit early because my daughter's actually graduating, and these are those big moments where I like to pause and fully engage. It's actually a strategy I use to help my achiever disconnect. And so we'll be a little ahead of schedule and dropping this early before our Sunday slot. So today's episode is one that feels timely and relevant to me, as this is a topic that continues to come up in conversations. It is about navigating next steps with openness, strength, and intention. So whether you are stepping into college or the workforce, whether you're a mid-career professional, or you're transitioning out of the workplace that you've been for decades, today's episode is for you. We're going to be talking about paths, specifically the idea that the path that you set and the plan that you identify isn't the only path that you walk. I continue to find that there is this massive, heavy pressure out there to pick a path, lock it in, and then don't look back. We see young people entering the workforce, people in mid-career transitions, and even folks retiring and getting the questions like, well, what are you going to do now? We treat life like it's on this train track, and if you derail from that expected path, you fail. So I want to offer a little bit of a different perspective today, and you will hear my strategic emerge with my what if questions. But truly, what if we stop trying to force a rigid plan and instead we learn to let our path unfold? What if we started choosing our futures based on our strengths rather than on pressure or our anxieties or worries or fears? So walk with me. Let's explore this through three lenses. We'll talk about the emerging generation, the mid-career professional, and then those who are transitioning out of the workforce. So like usual, the handout for today's episode is on my website, www.strengthstudio.com, and then you navigate to the lab tab. As usual, I'm not really going to edit my videos. You kind of get the raw unfiltered version of me. I might stumble, I might misspeak. We're doing the best we can here. So, trying to get you some helpful material in a short period of time. So let's jump in and start with our emerging generation first. One of the things that I see with younger folks embarking on their college journey or entering the workforce is this enormous pressure that they need to have it all figured out before they've even had a chance to explore. We're asking people to commit to a direction at 17 or 18 before they even know all the options. And as fast as the world is moving in this moment, who knows if the future jobs that they're going to do are even created yet? So if we are not careful, that pressure to have that known path figured out actually might bake fear into the foundation of their plan. So I think about my own son. He wants to be an electrical engineer, and I love that. I truly do, because engineering is an ideal fit for him because it is how he is naturally wired. And I will say he has a super cool strengths profile, says his mom. But even still, I continue to remind him, pick the field, but stay open and explore within it. Watch for those cues. What fuels? What drains? Notice what energizes you, what depletes you, who you enjoy working alongside, and be aware of where you are operating at your best and what you need to manage under stress. These are the indicators that can pave an intentional path that aligns not just what you are naturally good at and where you demonstrate competence, but also align with the areas that bring you joy and satisfaction. And it's not just as you're looking at college, but if you're already in your field. I had a similar conversation with one of my nieces. She's in healthcare. She absolutely loves it. But right now, she's in that agonizing waiting period to get into her formal program. That can be tough. That delay can create unnecessary worries. But the trick is to see the wait as not wasted. Sometimes the pause is the path that allows us to explore. Because here's kind of the secret about waiting. Sometimes the wait is exactly what helps us align our path with the precision toward the best opportunities for us. It's not necessarily about changing a path, but about refining within it. So, pick a field, explore within it. The plan is the starting point, not an end. And here's something I want to say to those of you who might find yourself on a path that maybe doesn't feel right, or your parents or bosses or counselors are pushing you in a certain way. Sometimes they see excellence within us, but they miss our satisfaction. So use that discomfort as information for you. Think about if the path is just hard, but worth the struggle, or is it truly miserable? That's information that can help you refine your route. My spouse always says to my kids, math was hard for him in college, and there were many times he wanted to quit, but he didn't because the struggle was worth it to become an engineer. And this is important for you to think about if you are on a path or in a major that you were just getting through or you're dreading it daily. You may also end up in a job where you are just getting by or you're counting down the hours. That's a waste of opportunity and potential. Think of it this way. I have the competence to be a tremendous cook. But if I had to spend my days in a kitchen as a chef, I'd be spending those days crying my eyes out. So I encourage you to look for both the areas that you demonstrate competence and those areas that bring you a sense of satisfaction, because both are what are necessary to truly thrive. And I want to be clear, I am not saying avoid the hard things. We should do the hard things that push us to grow. We should try the new opportunities and pathways and be a little uncomfortable sometimes. But we should also look for where we can thrive in that place of excellence and experience joy. So I encourage you, do not choose your path based on a perceived belief that it'll bring you money or power or status and you just have to stick it out and push through. Choose opportunities that leverage your capability and bring you satisfaction. Because if you operate from a place of strength, that's when your earning power truly grows. The money is a byproduct of that alignment, not the other way around. So to my college students and early career professionals, I encourage you, take time to pause, reflect, consider the questions on the worksheet. Think about those things like, what drew you to the field? And is it still relevant? What activities or topics or experiences keep you energized, even when they are difficult? What consistently depletes you or drains your energy? These things are indicators. And then within your field of interest, what are those roles or areas or paths that you might be interested to explore further. And here's the big one. What is one opportunity that might be in front of you right now that you could say yes to, even if it scares you a little bit? Use these questions to help shape your path. Reevaluate as you go. Things won't go smoothly all the time, and some things will be hard, and they should be. But the more intentional you are with your path, the better outcomes and potential you have to thrive. And for those of you who think, oh, not reflection questions, I really encourage you to shift that mindset because reflection is powerful. It allows us to think, it allows us to recalibrate. And I want you to think of it this way. Moving fast in the wrong direction just gets you lost so much quicker. So I encourage you, adopt the practice of reflection as you move through life. Do the brief reflections, recalibrate, and then shift to action. Okay, next I want to talk about mid-career transitioners. Oh, this group does not always get talked about because what tends to happen is people get promoted, they shift into new roles, or they are moving through that typical career ladder process. But this is such an opportunity for both the transitioner and everyone around them. More often than not, I find that people move into their role, their promotion, their career pivot, especially those with the high achiever and responsibility themes. They're often so highly capable that they are outpacing their organizations. They perform, they deliver, they get promoted, and the cycle repeats. But the same approaches that worked before may not be as effective now, which can be taxing over the long term. Or even worse, they may find that they don't love their new role. And let's be honest, for those in middle management today, it's rough. So the challenge for mid-career transitioners is not that they're not on the right path or that they will hit a failure wall, but rather the challenge for them is the sustainability wall. If we only do what we are capable of and not the things that bring us joy and satisfaction, our success can be taxing. Therefore, the mid-career transition should come with that moment to pause, reflect, quickly assess, and then recalibrate. So for you, I want you to think about, okay, what's actually fueling me in this role? What's draining me? See, I always go back to those two questions, the fuel and the drain. And then what is the best use of my time and energy? What could I delegate? Not because I can't do it, because someone else would thrive in it. And we want the people around us to be sustained too. And then what does sustained success look like a year from now? Not just the short-term performance of achieving goals and getting things accomplished, but where do we land a year from now? Is it sustainable? And the big one, this one is so important. If I led with my top strengths for the next 30 days, what would I do differently? So that's what I encourage you to do. Start small, think about these questions, calibrate your strengths, and really consider what would it look like to step into this transition leading with your top strengths, not just the ones most available to you or the ones that you've relied on in the past, but really put the time and energy into thinking about this. Okay. Finally, we're going to talk about folks transitioning out of the workplace. There's this phenomenon that we don't talk about enough. And I will say I'm seeing it so much lately, especially in the areas where people are experiencing unexpected job loss. And the great transitional phenomenon is the disorientation that can happen when we step out of the workplace. When work has been that organizing principle of our identity, filling our hours, defining our relationships, shaping our purpose, its absence can be deeply disorienting. And I'll be honest, I speak from this one with experience. About 7 years ago, I did. I took a leap, left my organization after running full speed ahead, 90 to 100-hour work weeks. I would literally wake up at 3 a.m., work, come home after dark, immediately crawl into bed, and repeat the cycle. Burnout cannot even begin to describe it. It actually took me 6 months to even decompress and feel human again. I think my nervous system had to do a complete rewire. And it was actually 12 to 18 months before I was hitting my stride again and back to operating from a true place of strength. So, if you are exiting a career right now, you've experienced job loss, or you're retiring, hear me. Give yourself time. Pause. It's okay to give yourself the space to process this transitional moment and explore different things without needing an immediate answer to what's next. Nothing has to be forced or figured out. We just think it does. But know this, you don't have to have the next chapter figured out before you close this one. The space between is part of the story. So as you go through your day, I want you to think about things like, where do I feel fueled? Where do I want to spend my time and energy? Where do I feel drained? What do I not want to do anymore? And then what would it look like to build something shaped around who I actually am? And it's okay to change and evolve and want different things in your life. I always tell people I'm a recovering achiever as I'm truly intentionally working to slow the pace in my life so that I don't burn out or burn out the others around me. So think about your transition, identify what did work provide for you? What are you feeling in this transitional space? Think about what others come to you for, what you put on hold, and what is something you can explore moving forward. These are the clues that help us shape our path. And remember, nothing has to be forced. We think it does, but it doesn't. Exploration is not a detour, it's a path. So, whether you are embarking on college, stepping into the world of work, transitioning within it, or exiting the workforce, the goal remains the same. Openness. The willingness to let the plan unfold rather than force it. Now, that might be my strategic learner talking, and some of you may be eye rolling me, but even if you're not wired like me, the principle holds. Some of the best paths are held with intention, but without rigidity. And I should say, so that I am not misinterpreted here, openness is not aimlessness. I still want you to pick a direction. I still want you to work hard, but stay curious and trust that your strengths are the most reliable compass you have. So now before we close out, I have one more step for you, as I don't want you to live in the reflective space. I know my overthinking friends can easily get stuck here. So I want you to take a small step. You will find 4 questions at the end of the worksheet, and this will help you shift toward action. It's not about doing everything. It's about being intentional and making iterative progress. So after you've reflected, identify what's my immediate next step or action I will take. Just one thing. What is the one key thing I need to communicate about this next step. I encourage you to do this because we're not alone on our journeys. So let people know, what are you doing? Don't operate in isolation. 3, who is one person I need to connect with to achieve or support me on this next step, this one action? Because we need each other. We need to think about who we can bring along to go on this ride with us. Who could be our advocate, our cheerleader, our mentor, sounding board, or even just our friend? And then 4, what is one thing I need to think about as I move forward? What are those barriers, the unintended consequences, or the basements and watch points that might get in our way and need to be managed? Now, hear me. I said managed, not avoided. Don't overthink that last question. Manage it and proceed on your step. So, if you sit with this worksheet, reflect honestly, I do think it will help point you somewhere useful. I hope you will continue to revisit these questions and gain a sense of fulfillment on whatever path you are on. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next week in the lab.